I like Nate Black. I met him many years ago at Vid Summit. Well, the other day, he posted an episode about authenticity that I strongly disagree with, but not for everyone. It's actually good advice for some people, but terrible advice for others. So this makes advice like this quite confusing. The reason for the confusion is Nate Black and I define success quite differently. In this episode, I'll begin by showing the difference in our measurement of success. I'll contrast authenticity and value, and I'll explain what massive success looks like from my perspective and how to achieve it. Nate Black is a good guy, and if you're his target audience, then I recommend you follow his advice. But if you're my target audience, you should not follow his advice. So this is what Nate Black defines as success: higher engagement, higher retention, magnetic presence, predictable audience reactions, and growth through engineered moments. And the biggest measurement of success is if you have a multi-million subscriber channel. So in other words, Nate Black would agree that if people are watching longer, reacting more, and the channel is growing, that is success. For me, those things are just stepping stones or features of a video, but not the end goal. My end goal is much more significant. Ranking at the top of YouTube's search for hundreds of questions your target audience is asking. This also applies to having your YouTube videos rank on Google and ChatGPT. Being seen as the ultimate authority in your industry. Dominating your space. You are the #1 go-to person in your niche. Your YouTube channel must generate referral quality leads. And instead of ad revenue, you generate massive business revenue. Instead of entertaining people as a YouTuber, you're building massive influence through your business as a thought leader. Another way to show a difference in our thinking here, Nate Black's goal is for people to like you, and my goal is for people to trust you. Engagement creates fans, but authority creates clients. You can be wildly engaging and still not build a business. So you can get comments and you can get shares and you can get millions of views, but you still don't generate qualified leads. Engagement is not at all the same thing as positioning. You can be magnetic and still be replaceable. You can be authentic and still be forgettable. If someone watches your video and thinks that was entertaining, but they don't think that's the person I trust with this problem, then you didn't build authority. Authority is what builds businesses. That's where I see the disconnect. A lot of creators are optimizing for emotional connection. I optimize for search intent. A lot of creators are trying to feel real. I'm trying to be findable. But if someone can't find you when they're actively looking for a solution, your authenticity doesn't matter at all. So in this episode, I want to break down something important. I want to show you why being authentic is often misunderstood. I want to show you why value beats vulnerability almost every time. I also want to explain why search beats spectacle. Most importantly, I'm going to show you what actually builds authority on YouTube, the kind that generates inbound leads, not just applause. Because if your end goal is for a real business, then we need to define success correctly. When creators are told to be authentic, the question they start asking are, how do I feel on camera? Or how do I express myself better? How do I show more personality? How do I come across as more real? Notice the pattern. It's about me. Even engineered authenticity is still about how I perform, how I present, and how I shape my personality. All of it is self-oriented. But when you shift to value, the questions change. What is the viewer searching for? What problem are they actively trying to solve? What question are they typing into YouTube right now? What would make this clearer for them? So now it's about them, and that shift changes everything. Now, search data is not your opinion, it's not your mood, it's not your creative impulse, it's the marketplace speaking. So when someone types, how do I, or what's the best way to, or what does, fill in the blank, they're revealing their intent. Value-based creators listen. Authenticity-based creators express. So that contrast should be quite powerful. When we obsess over authenticity, we're often subconsciously asking, how do I get these people to like me? When we obsess over value, we're asking, how do I help them? One builds fans and the other builds authority. So here's the trap with authenticity. When we focus on authenticity, we're really focusing on ourselves. We're thinking about, how do I want to come across? What kind of content do I want to create? How do I express myself? How do I feel on camera? So again, it's all centered on the creator, and the outcome of that approach is usually, I like that video. And that does feel good. It does feel validating. It feels like momentum. But think about what that response actually means. I liked your video doesn't necessarily mean I trust you, or I need you, or I'm going to hire you, or I'm going to act on this. It just means it was enjoyable. Now compare that to a value-based video. When you focus on value, you're not asking, how do I want to come across? You're asking, what does my viewer want? What are they asking for? What's going to be the most helpful to them? So now the outcome changes. Instead of, I liked your video, you get, that was helpful. This person helped me. Now I know what to do. Now I can act on this. So very different results. One creates a pleasant experience. The other creates movement. One builds fans. The other builds trust. And trust is what builds authority. So the authenticity trap isn't that authenticity is bad. It's that it subtly shifts the focus back to us, how we feel, how we look, how we perform. Value shifts the focus to them, their problem, their confusion, and their next step. When somebody walks away saying, now I know what to do, you're no longer just a creator they enjoy, you're a resource that they rely on. So here's where I want business owners to be really careful. If your goal is lead generation, not just views, you need to be extremely cautious about most of the advice you hear on YouTube, because most YouTube advice is built for creators, not businesses. Creators are optimizing for retention, for watch time, for engagement, for growth spikes, but businesses should be optimizing for search intent, for problem-solving clarity. They should be optimizing for authority, for inbound leads. So those are not the same thing. When someone is scrolling, they're bored. But when someone is searching, they have intent. So it's a completely different psychological state. A scrolling viewer is thinking, entertain me, but a search viewer is thinking, help me. If you build your content strategy around spectacle, bigger reactions, tighter edits, engineered moments, you might increase engagement, but you're still fishing in a pool of passive viewers. Now, let me show you something different. Take a look here at Reagan Archibald. So if you go to YouTube like this and you type in what factors contribute to life expectancy and longevity, notice that you find Reagan Archibald is the first video right below the shorts. Or if you type in how does KPV compare to other anti-inflammatory treatments, you find Reagan at the top of this search. Or if you type in this question, you'll find Reagan at the top. Or if you type in this question, you'll again find Reagan at the top. Or if you type in this question, you'll again find Reagan at the top. So I'll just show you a few more examples. If you type in these questions, you're finding Reagan at the top. So as you've seen, I've helped Reagan rank at the top for highly specific, high-intent searches in his niche. He's a peptides expert. These are not flashy videos. They're not engineered for spectacle. They're not built around performance tricks. They're built around very clear questions his ideal clients are already typing into YouTube. And when someone finds one of those videos, they're not thinking, that was entertaining. They're thinking, that's exactly what I needed. Or, this person understands my problem. This is who I should talk to. So that's authority. That's intent-based traffic. That's what generates leads. Search beats spectacle because search captures people at the moment they're looking for a solution. So if you own that moment consistently, you don't need to perform, you just need to position. So what actually builds authority? If it's not engagement, if it's not personality, if it's not engineered authenticity, as Nate Black talks about, authority is category ownership. It means when someone searches for answers in your niche on YouTube, Google, or ChatGPT, anywhere online, they find you. You show up at the top. Now, not once, but you show up repeatedly. Authority is not people like me. Authority is I own this topic. When someone types in a question about your industry and they keep seeing your face over and over, they keep seeing your name, your explanation, that's authority. Now, this level of positioning doesn't happen accidentally. It doesn't come from chasing virality. Virality is elusive. Virality is unpredictable. It's exciting when it happens, but it's irrelevant because it doesn't generate leads. Authority, on the other hand, is tactical. You can map it out step by step. You can find what people are actually searching for. You can identify patterns, and you can structure your content intentionally. Where your videos rank is something that you can measure and you can track the results. So it's not emotional, it's strategic. Instead of asking, how do I go viral? You ask, how do I own this category? Instead of hoping that the algorithm will pick you, you design content around what people are already looking for. And when you do that consistently, you stop competing for attention. You start becoming the obvious answer. That's authority, and authority compounds. One video ranks, then another, then another. So whenever someone searches in your niche, you're there. Not because you performed better, but because you positioned better. And that's something you can plan, you can build, you can scale. You don't have to chase applause, but you can actually build ownership. Now, one of the first steps I take with my clients is do a competition analysis or a competitor analysis. Let me show you. So this is Jason Schroeder's channel. He's a consultant to the construction industry. He actually owns a lot of spaces on YouTube. He's got hundreds and hundreds of videos that are ranking at the top of YouTube, Google, and ChatGPT. Well, just the other day, I was doing some research in a new area. So take a look at what's on the screen here. You'll see Jason Schroeder is this column right here. And he doesn't have any yeses. A yes means he has a video ranking at the top of YouTube when people are typing in these questions. So this is great. We found a branch that he wants to dominate, but he doesn't have a whole lot of traction in. And what I've done here is a competitor analysis where I've looked at all the different competitors, those that do have videos ranking on these different subjects, and I've grouped them together. And the ones that we see at the left here from Tim Fairley, a channel called Plan and Spec, and Rapid Result Something, and Jesse Lane, they have higher ranking than Jason Schroeder does. But now we have an exact map of where Jason can turn no's into yeses, meaning he can have videos that he doesn't rank for, and now he can rank at the top. We can just start filming those and start taking over this entire category. So here's another example for a different client of mine. You can see his topics on the left, and you can see the competitor analysis we did. The two that we put on the left are Simon Sinek and the channel called TEDx Talks. Now, TEDx actually isn't a competitor that we need to worry about because they cover topics on everything. And when YouTube shows their channel, it just means there's not a really good exact match topic for what you're searching for. But here's a TEDx talk. And looking here, even though Simon Sinek has a higher score based on my system, there are a lot of opportunity gaps that my client can fill in and own this space. So the competitor analysis, as you can guess, is a great starting point. It's how you stop guessing, it's how you stop chasing virality, and it's how you start seeing where authority can actually be built. But analysis alone isn't enough. The real question is, how do I turn that data into a system? How do you structure your content so you actually achieve top ranking in Google, YouTube, and ChatGPT? And then how do you turn that visibility into leads? So that's exactly what I break down in my next episode. I'll link to it right there. It's called What is Authority Marketing? In that video, I walk you step by step through the framework we use to help businesses own their category online. If your goal is predictable lead generation, not just views, that's the video that you should watch next. I'll see you there.